Welcome to my presentation on cross-border medical research using multi-layered and distributed knowledge. My name is Gábor and I'm from the University of Trento. The motivation for our work is medical research that is constantly evolving and is requiring higher and higher quantities of patient data. Due to analytics becoming ever finer-grained, health data from single countries are not sufficient anymore, and often data from several countries need to be combined together to reach statistical significance. But this is very challenging for several reasons: legal, technical, due to privacy regulations, differences in language, and so on. Our work concentrated on solving the problem of data heterogeneity through cross-border data integration. We developed a general approach that we validated on a genuine cross-border study between Scotland and Italy on the so-called direct oral anticoagulant drugs. The study involved two regional healthcare institutions, NHS Scotland and APSS Trento. To give some Scottish statistics on the complexity of medical data integration, in a regional scenario from inside Scotland, so without any cross-border issue, entire research studies typically last half a year to 2 years. From this, data preparation itself can last up to 10 months in elapsed time, and the actual work spent on it is between a week and a month. There are no statistics for cross-border cases as they are too novel and cutting edge. Our goal was to make sure that the data preparation in cross-border scenarios is technically feasible and stays within a similar time frame, despite the fact that the complexity of cross-border integration is much, much higher. As an example of data heterogeneity, I'm showing here a small portion of two prescription data sets, one from the UK and one from Italy. An obvious challenge is to deal with text in multiple languages, but it's not the only one. The two countries also use different healthcare standards for representing drugs, for example, such as the UK using the BNF standard, while Italy is using its own national equivalent, the AIC. There are also even more subtle cases. Here, for example, both prescription datasets have an attribute called quantity or quantità. However, the UK one means number of items of tablets, for example, while the Italian one means number of packs. The integration system mustn't make the mistake of mixing up these two units of measure, so it needs to have a deep and detailed understanding of every single attribute of every dataset, and the data is full of cases like this. Because of such cases, for medical researchers, it is crucial that the data integration process should be trustable and explainable. And this is one reason why machine learning methods are not typically applied in scenarios like this one. They cannot provide fine-grained control and overview of the precision of the results. Instead, the state-of-the-art approach is to map data to international standards, such as OMOP for data structures, ICD for disease codes, ATC for drugs, and so on. The mappings are sometimes expressed as formal knowledge, such as in RDF, which makes it possible to automate the mapping process. The famous UMLS resource is the largest collection of such knowledge of medical standards and mappings. But standards and their mappings cannot solve the problem alone. First of all, standards only cover some aspects of data. For example, there's a lot of text within data that cannot be entirely codified. Also, data keeps changing. Both local practices and international standards evolve, as does medicine itself. Therefore, the mappings and the system itself need to be prepared to be able to follow this constant evolution. Among others, there have to be dedicated tools and the methodology for keeping the system up to date with respect to this evolution. However, as the data is distributed among different countries, a centralized system such as UMLS cannot possibly follow its evolution everywhere at the same time. So the integration system needs to be updated in a decentralized way. Our solution addresses the issue of heterogeneity through what we call Agile Data Integration through multi-layered and distributed knowledge. This means that the integration process is knowledge-driven using formal mapping rules, and by distributed, we understand that the integration is not done by a single system with a single knowledge base, but every local data controller, such as every country, region, or hospital, has some of the knowledge under their responsibility. This makes sense, as they know best their own data. The cross-border knowledge, in turn, is under the responsibility of a central authority and encodes the international standards to which the local knowledge needs to be mapped. Note that all the mappings and data transformations happen locally. This way, sensitive data does not need to leave the data controllers, so this is also a privacy-aware solution. By multi-layered knowledge, we understand the division of formal knowledge into 3 layers, because each layer deals with a different aspect of heterogeneity. The bottom, language layer, deals with linguistic phenomena such as synonyms and ambiguity. The concept layer, in the middle, is supralingual, so it connects terms across languages and also across standards. For example, we know that the Italian diagnosi primaria here means the same as the English main condition, or that the ICD-9 code here 4590 means the same as the ICD-10 code R58X, and they both mean hemorrhage. The meanings of schema attributes and data types are also represented as concepts, making their meanings formal and precise. Finally, we cover the agile aspect through the use of data and knowledge management tools. While it is common to use ETL tools for data integration, our tool, which was built on top of the open source Karma tool, is unique in its support for multilingual knowledge extraction and its full integration with multi-layered knowledge. It can map schemas, transform data, and also disambiguate text into supralingual concepts. The process is semi-automated, which means that there is, for example, multilingual NLP running in the background, but there's always an expert, a medical data scientist, who oversees the process and curates the results. The concepts and entities extracted are linked to formal knowledge, and the system keeps up with the evolution of knowledge through interactive knowledge management tools. So if there's a new laboratory result code, for example, or a new data attribute to be added to the knowledge, it can be done in minutes using these tools. This slide shows the general integration methodology applied to the anticoagulant study. There are 3 main steps in the process. Each step is semi-automated, overseen by a data scientist to guarantee high precision. Step 0, knowledge bootstrapping, is independent of the study, needs to be done only once, when the system is deployed. It is about setting up the local and cross-border knowledge instances that are used by all or most studies. Then, for each new study, in the knowledge adaptation step, step 1, the data scientist extends the knowledge by codes, terms, and schema attributes that are specific to the study, using the knowledge management tools. For example, we added knowledge about the anticoagulant drugs, specifically for the study. The data formalization and mapping step, finally, is about disambiguating attributes, values, data types, and units of measure, and producing the cross-border representations. Due to the shortness of time, I will skip some of our results, inviting you to check out our paper for details. Let me just highlight the effort that was needed to complete the data integration process for the study, 20 person days in total. This is in the same range as the typical effort needed inside a single region, and thus demonstrates that our approach is efficient enough to make cross-border research feasible in practice. To finish my presentation, let me mention two further projects where our solution was applied. First, a UK-specific regional integration problem within Scotland. Here, language was not an issue, obviously, but otherwise, the same kind of heterogeneity problems needed to be solved as in a cross-border scenario. A second ongoing project is called Interoperate, and it involves 4 hospitals from 4 countries, where we will pilot our solution on cross-border research, as well as on the cross-border interoperability of electronic health records, extending the scope from medical research to clinical use cases. And here I finish my presentation. Thank you for your attention, and I will be happy to answer questions.